I'm getting better at doing my test now, so I should be done within a couple of seconds, checking if this stream started correctly. And I think there's a bit of a delay, so I just got to watch for that. There we go. All right, looks like it's working. So I'm just going to push forward. Now, one of the things I was talking about in the previous videos is how when you create a new discussion, it doesn't show up in this list. And I'm not sure it actually should show up in this list. I think what should actually happen is that it takes you to another page where you can then edit that discussion. So what I might actually do is jump into our discussions view and just prepare for that. So how about we call this like managing our discussion? What do we call this one? We call this discussions view. What about if we just had a discussion singular? So Hygen component. Now this would be a view. Hygen view new. This is going to be for a module, for a discussion, and we'll call this discussion singular view. There we go. Now what we can do is open up our index page here, and we'll make it switch to that view when we change to another topic. So how about this? We say v if, and then we can do like, maybe put the selected discussion in here. Yeah, that could be a cool UI. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so we'll say selected discussion ID, which is nothing by default. And then we can just say if there is a selected discussion, then inside of the discussions view, oh, how about this is if there is not a selected discussion? Yeah, there we go. And then we'll come in here, we'll say discussion singular. Gonna have to restart Vola for that. And, whoop, did I miss that? And selected discussion singular, there we go. And then we can just make this an else. B-else. And we can pass through to there the discussion ID. Discussion ID. And then what I'll do is I'll bring in the route in order to figure out what that is. So maybe, yeah, how about this? We'll go into our routes file. And then, oh, there's a nice example route that we can sort of play around with. We'll create another page that takes us to the index. And we'll call this discussion singular, or maybe discussions dot show. Let's go with that. Can be the name. The path is /discussion. And that's also going to take us to the index page. So let's jump in here. Okay, so if I were to go to like / blah, 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 that would be the idea of the discussion. And maybe we actually add more in there. Maybe we go discussion / and then the discussion ID. Or discussions. Yeah. Whoops, too many S's. Yeah, I think that could look good. Just in case we want to use that base URL for something else. Okay, so we go to the index page. Let's grab that discussion ID by coming back in here, and we'll say props is equal to true. Whoops, props. So the props are going to be passed down there. So we'll be able to pick up this property here. And then we can say interface props. This is how I like to define my props in a separate props interface. And then we'll say const props is equal to define props. Send that through to there. And let me just come back in here. And that's discussion ID. And then we can say here, discussion ID, we may or may not have that. And if we do, it's going to be a string. So now, discussion ID, we don't even need selected discussion ID. We can just say discussion ID because we got that through the prop. So if that's not defined, if it was passed through here, then show that view, otherwise show the discussion view. And that's it. Now let's get rid of that selected discussion ID variable because it's now run by the route. And let's go slash blah. Well, that's right. It was discussion slash blah. Or is it discussion singular? That would make more sense, wouldn't it? All right, what have I done wrong in my routes here? Discussions slash blah. Okay, I must have spelled something wrong. There we go. And I think that should actually be singular. That makes more sense to me. Discussion.show. Yeah. This isn't a REST API. This is our routing. So now let's change that to a lowercase s and make sure that that ID gets pulled through here. So discussion view. That should be pretty easy to do. We should be able to just come in here and say discussion ID. And that's going to be required. And we should be able to come in here and just spit that out. And there we go. That's our discussion ID. So once we get that discussion ID, we need to pull it in. So that gives us an opportunity to use the finder. So we can say const discussion finder is equal to use finder. And discussion will get passed through there. Import use finder from @VueModel/core. Man, I really want to take the time to figure that out. I probably should have done that earlier. Why that's not importing properly. And that's all right. You can just do the extra effort for now. And how about we call immediate on this? So we'll say immediate is equal to true. So it's immediately going to bring that up. And the ID here is going to be dynamic, which is why I'm passing through a function. So it's kind of like a computed. And we can set this to props. Now for the ID, we can just say props.discussionID. So now let's send through the results there. Discussion finder.record.value. Of course, that record doesn't exist. So when I select one of these, let's make it so that it brings us back to this index page. Because see how we still selected one by the ID when we click on a topic? What I should be able to do is just say, when you change the topic, yeah, let's just add something else in here. Selected topic ID is equal to the new ID. But then we also want to make sure we're on the right route. So we can say const router is equal to use router. There we go. And we can say router.push index, I guess. I can't remember what we called that. Probably nothing. Yeah, let's also give this a name equal to index. That'll do. That should be with a name equal to index. So we'll say name index. Okay. So why are those discussions not coming through when we change the page there? That's all right. I'll look into that in a second. Next thing I want to do is make it so that when we select one of these discussions, that works. So what's a good way to do that? How about we say well, we can actually just route at that point. So let's come in here and we'll make those clickable. Clickable. And when you click on one of them, we can say router.push. And I don't like using the global router. So I'll say router.push. And the name is equal to, let's jump into our routes file. And it's discussion.show. Take me to my discussion show route. And I want you to give it some props as well. Is it props or params? Guess we'll find out in a second. And I'll put these in separate lines. Discussion ID is equal to discussion.id. There we go. So we also need router now. Const router equals use router. Get that imported. And okay, so it's not props. It might just be params. That's probably it. Yeah, there we go. So that's all linked up correctly now. Nice. All right, so that should be really easy to show. And what we'll do is we'll bring in the post for that discussion as well. First, we should probably make it so we can make a post. So let's jump into our discussion view. And inside of here, I want to keep it really simple. How about we go back and we just add some padding in here? At least for now, to sort of push that out. And maybe like a card for each one. Yeah, I don't care if it's ugly for now. So let's just say Q card. We can sexify it later. Q card section. And we want to have a title at the top here as well. So maybe we actually make the whole thing a Q card. I do want to wrap it in a div because there's usually other little things that you want to add in. What do we make like a card of cards? And we'll just make this bordered and flat. Yeah, so that's where our discussions are. And then we can just say like, maybe have a title above that. Like a H3 here. And that can be our discussion finder dot record dot value. We should get nice type completion. Huzzah! Title. There we go. The title of our discussion. Get rid of a bit of that margining on the top. It's not the sexiest app in the world. Margin Y, none. No, we might just go margin top, none. And maybe just medium on that. Yeah, that looks fine to me. And now we want to be able to have posts. So maybe just like a button at the bottom right here. Maybe. Oh, you could have like a button at the top right here. Let's go with one down the bottom right on the page. So we'll come down here and we'll say Q-page-sticky. Q button. This is going to be a fab button and an icon that's equal to like MDI message maybe. Where you can craft your own message for this. Yeah, there we go. We'll give that an offset. And how about we set that to like 18, 18. There we go. And I want the color of this to equal, let's go with primary, see what that looks like. Yeah. What's a secondary color? Whoops. All right, maybe that. Yep, sure, let's go with that. So when you click on this, that then creates a new discussion or opens a dialog where we can create a new discussion. Yeah, all right. So create discussion dialog. Yes, that is already a thing that I created earlier. So now we'll come down here and maybe just whack that under here. Create discussion dialog. Then we can do a VueModel on this, saying show create discussion dialog. Boom, come up here. Const that is equal to a ref that's false. And then we can say when you click on this, it shows that dialog. Oh, got to set that equal to true. And let's jump into that component. So that should be working. I wonder why that's not working. Let's jump into our console. Missing required prop form. Okay, it could have something to do with that. VueModel form. So we need a form for that create discussion. And I'm going to create a discussion creator.form.value. So now we need to go ahead and create that. Const discussion creator is equal to use creator. And there we go. We pull that in from there, pass discussion to as the first parameter. And then another thing you'll pretty much always want to do is say something like on success, and that'll close the dialog. So how about we grab this, throw it above there, and we say that is equal to false. Okay. So I'm going to close that out. And I think that's everything. And there we go. Discussion has got a title. Let me jump into that form. And it should also have a body as well, of course. So let's just make that a queue input. And actually, how about we do this? Let's try a queue edit, I think it's called. No, queue editor. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, there we go. Something that Quasar gives us for free. So we might as well use it. Oh, the discussion doesn't have a body. Oh, because we don't want to make a discussion. We want to make a post on a discussion at this point. Oops, I wasn't thinking straight. I do this a lot, don't I? So let's come in here now and start creating what we need for creating a post. So we'll say hygiene. In fact, I'm going to quickly come back here and undo some of the stuff I did there. That's all fine. And this is basically going to turn into a post dialog instead. All right, so how about we say hygiene, component, or would this be a view at this point? No, I think it's just a component. Component new, and a module, a post, and we'll call this create post dialog. So we have a component for that. And let's create another component for a post, which is going to be post form. All right. Nice. So let's come in here and change that to create post dialog. Create post dialog. And all the discussion creator related stuff becomes post creator instead. And this is going to be now be show create post dialog. Just a game of updating at this point. Post creator, use creator, that should be passing through a post instead. So let's come in here and say post and get that imported. All right, create post dialog. And we can control click that. Oh man, sometimes it does this thing. Just restart Volar, see if that works. I need my control clicking. Oh, well, that's all right. Just open it up that way. So this is going to be similar to our create discussion dialog. So I'm going to copy, paste that in there, and then just make some tweaks. Change that from discussion to post. And let's see what it looks like so far. Okay, something's going wrong there. There might be some things I'm trying to import that don't exist. Create, now we've got the post form as well. All right, let's see what console errors we've got. I think this might be one of those ones where I have to restart the server. Luckily we're using Vite, so it's pretty fast. Okay, we got a better idea here of what happened. Looks like something in create post dialog couldn't be found. That worked. Or create discussion dialog. Is that all working? Yep. Might be one level higher. Oh, that's the wrong place. So that should be coming from there. Maybe that's why it wasn't working. Oh yeah, it works now. Cool, now I can control click my components, which is very handy. Now we can come down here to create a new post and we get that dialog. So let's say create post dialog. And we got a form. So we'll jump into that. And how about we say discussion form to steal some of that code. I love just stealing code all over the place. So that's a post. And the post has got, I don't think a post actually has a title. Oh no, it's got a title and a body. Let me just see my modules. Yeah, does a post need a title? No, I kind of got this the wrong way around. A discussion would have a title, but a post would not. It's just got the body. Okay, so let's do this. We'll jump into our post, control click that, and we'll get rid of the title. I only want a body for the post. However, the discussion has got a body. So now let's also go into create discussion or the discussion form. And when you create a discussion, you also add a body to that discussion. Or maybe you would actually attach a post, which would be the first post. So you give it a name. Nah, this will do for now. And we'll call this Q editor. We use the editor component, which is awesome. And that has to be a string. So how about this? We'll go into that body and we'll just make that a string so that it's required. That's still not going to work because it could be undefined. I don't know. What's a good solution to that? We've got to create a new discussion. Well, we could just say, yeah, how about this? If not model value dot value dot body, or we can say if type of, or if that is equal to undefined. Actually, better still, if it is not equal to string, we'll add a type of in there. So if the type of that is not a string, then we set that equal to an empty string. Yeah, there we go. It sort of fixes it being converted to undefined. And I think I can pretty safely there go now as string. Oop. How do I do that? What's wrong with that? Yeah, okay. That's fine. Let's just deal with that red squiggly for now, but we can think about that. Why would that be occurring? I'm going to copy that and put that in my Obsidian doc of things to think about working on the framework, and then we'll come back and we'll just continue. Okay. So instead of name, I really think that should be title. So let's jump into our discussion and change that. Oh wait, that already is title. I've just got the label wrong. Title, and this doesn't need a label. Cool. So our discussion form is done. I'm going to open that again actually and just steal that code for the editor and whack it in here. And I'm also going to steal this code that basically coerces that to a string. Yep. And now let's just say we're on a discussion. We can create a post for that discussion. Blah. All right, now we need to line everything up and make sure it works. So in the discussion view, we've got our create post dialog, which is this. Everything seems to be being modeled okay, and that's on the post creator. So now we can say at create. In other words, when you click on this button, it's equal to post creator dot create. And then we can also have creating equal to post creator dot creating. There we go. And later on, I'll add a mock latency in there. So there's actually a cool feature that VueModel has where you can have a mock latency. It makes it really easy to test. So I think that worked. There's actually a way we can check. Open up our console, application, IndexedDB, discussions. Yeah, there we go. We do have a post in here. Oh, we got a few posts. How did we end up with so many posts? Touch my body. Okay, so I think I was playing around with this earlier maybe. So let's delete all of those. There we go. That kind of gives us our app from scratch. Topic is equal to view. And we'll go ahead and create that. So now that's all of our discussions. So we create a new discussion down here. UI needs a little bit of work. What about this new VueModel thing? I've tried it and it looks great. And let's make that bold. Just sort of like give us a little bit more to work with. Now we can click on that discussion and now we're ready to sort of show the page that shows all the discussions, which is this section here, I think. Oh, okay, so we need a post finder now based on the discussion ID. So const posts indexer is equal to use indexer. And this is where we might start using pagination, which is so freaking easy with with trying to code and talk at the same time with VueModel. So we pass post through there and let's call immediate on that so that indexes immediately. And now the post indexer, what if we come up here and say v-4 post in post indexer dot value, or whoops, dot records dot value. So for each post in all the posts that we're able to index, and we'll say the key is equal to post.id. Looks like, oh, we actually need to add something in here. So let's say post.title. We'll start with that. Is that what I called it, the title? Oh no, post.body. That's right. Posts only have a body. All right, so that's working. It's only because we need the first post. So I'm just going to do a quick copy post here for the first post. It is actually equal to discussion finder dot record dot value dot body. Cool. We get that red squiggly to basically say value might be undefined. So I have to add the question mark in there. And you would then need to scrub this on the back end because now we're going to be doing the kind of scary v-html. And in reality, I actually wouldn't use QEditor. I would save my posts as JSON. And that's okay. Let's try that. And I'm going to set this equal to false because I do understand what XSS attacks are. And okay, let me just think about this. ESLint is where I want to go. And I want to add a new rule, which is turning that off. Okay, it's giving me another error there. It's all right, we'll get rid of that as well. Okay, so we basically told it we know what we're doing. I've tried it and it looks great. Have you? We got a card for that. And now I want to add something like class is equal to q dash, what do you call it? Gutter dash y, and we'll go with medium. Okay, so we've got a gutter on that. And now we want to say here, what do you call it? Bordered? Yeah, so they're all bordered. Why would they not appear separately though? Oh, hang on. Got to add it there as well. Yeah, maybe get... Oh, God, this doesn't look great, does it? And let's get rid of the gutter on that. Just going to play around with this a little bit to try and find something that looks okay. Because I'm okay with it not looking great, but I'm not okay with it looking horrendous. Which this does. What did we say? Class is equal to Q marginal small, something like that. I don't know why the borders get chopped off. I've often had this problem. Maybe we put a padding on the outside. Q padding or medium. Yeah, it's kind of confusing to me. Why would that not show the shadow of the card? No, I've obviously done something wrong. We can wrap all these in a div. Yeah, that'll do. And we'll go extra small. Oh, I think it's because you got cards inside of a card. And I'm not sure that Quasar likes that. Yeah, there we go. So, all right. Yeah, I've made this mistake before. Cards do not seem to like being in cards. They cancel out the shadows or something. And now that we've done that, we should be able to get rid of that div around that as well and just put a div around all of these. Yeah, instead of being a card, that just needed to be a div. All right. And now I can say Q dash gutter dash Y dash medium. Okay. And let's make that like a H5 maybe. And text gray. Oh, okay, not 2. It's a bit much. Text gray 9. Okay, so let's get rid of bordered on there. Get rid of bordered on there. And I don't really like... Oh, I'm doing it again where I get too caught up in the details. Let's just leave it at that for now. But yeah, like that's kind of working. The next thing we'd need to do is sort of make it specific to a user and find a way to sort of mimic logins. And that's another thing I want to do in the future, is to use VueAuth. So this is another project I built a while ago. And VueAuth basically allows you to swap out what your authentication provider is. And so I want to create an implementation for local storage. So basically what we're using here so that we can store everything in the backend, I want to be able to use VueAuth for that and basically have a fake user where you would literally just say, save the username and the password in plain text on the user's computer, which obviously you would never do in production, but it just means that you can share it with people and say, hey, this is what it would look like to make accounts. And they make accounts with fake passwords on their computer when they're trying out the prototype. And it just saves it in plain text with username and password just so they can see that, you know, sort of what it looks like. And then when that's done, you can then, you know, use an actual proper username and password system. So it would just be for prototyping stuff. And you'd have to make that really clear in the docs. But yeah, this is kind of pretty much it. I might put a little bit more effort into it, do a couple more streams to sort of show something else. But this was great. This was a chance for me to sort of like showcase some of the stuff that you can do with VueModel and how easy it is. And all of our code is basically around the displaying of things because so much of this is handled by VueModel. It's really, really cool. And yeah, like this is a prototype that you could show a client if they wanted to build a blog post. And then the cool thing about this is, let me just close those out. the cool thing about this is they can then say, oh, I don't like this. Can you make it so that's got no shadow? Can you just do blah, 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 and just give you a bunch of feedback? And you can really, really, really quickly make changes based on that feedback. Because now I can just come in here, go into all of my models. Yeah, here we go. Like go into any of my modules, and maybe they want to add something to post. You just go in there and add it. You don't have to work with a database or anything like that. You just add it in there, and then it's ready for you to use, and you can just sort of keep developing. And you can do incredible, incredible feedback. You get a really incredible feedback loop where they can tell you to change something, you fix it. They tell you to change something, you fix it. You can do this over and over again really, really, really quickly, and they can play around with it because you can really easily deploy this because there's no backend. So it's really, really easy to deploy. I could literally have this deployed in the next like 10 minutes using something like Netlify. And if you get GitHub Actions set up, and if I were to include some GitHub Actions inside of this template, it would literally take like 2 minutes. You would just push it to a Git repository, and then GitHub Actions would do its thing. But the point being is now you can really easily build something that your client wants. And even when this is in production, what we can do here, just quickly show you this. If I go to the index page, if we're in production, we make it so that useIndexer uses a production API by default. So maybe you're using a Laravel or a Dataverse backend or something, right? But then what you could do is say, oh, I'm adding this new topics feature. Let's just say all the other features exist and topics doesn't exist yet. So you could come in here and say use indexer, and as the first parameter, you pass through local. So you, maybe by default, Dataverse is your API. So that's what it uses by default. But then you can say local here, and that actually still works. What that does is you get the same API, but the first parameter is allowed to be, if it's a string, then it will basically use that to find the driver. So now I can say, I want you to use my Orion database for this. I want you to use my local database for this. I want you to use my Dataverse database for this, whatever. As long as that's been set up inside of your boot file, right? So when I say Orion, it would then go drivers and look for one called Orion. And then you would set your implementation to your Laravel Orion driver, which would, be built for you because that's one of the ones that I'm going to build. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this one. I'll probably do a little bit more, maybe not today, but, throughout the week. And yeah, now we've got a place where we can just kind of like write posts. It's not perfect, obviously. Some of the updating of things isn't working right now, but I think I could really, actually, we could probably fix that quickly. Let's just make it so that it does a re-index on that. So for the discussion view, post indexer is immediate. And we'll just say, when you go to create it, we'll make this async. And we'll just await that. So when that's done, I'll then just call postindexer.index. So we'll do another index. I think that might work. Yeah, there we go. Now it shows up. Which is kind of cool because you hit the server again to make sure you've actually got it. Yeah, another thing you could actually do is say, you could have like a posts finder that then finds that resource. Nah, you know what? This is fine. And one of the cool things about it is if you've just done a post and somebody else has posted, you will then see your post in the context of everyone else's post. Hey, let me just show you guys one more cool thing. With the post creator, we can then just add in order by. No, not order by. What am I saying? The post indexer, we could also just add here order by. And if you want to see everything you can do, just do control space and you get a whole list of all the stuff that we've got available in this composable. Like with getting related data, which I haven't even got to use yet. There's so much cool shit that we can do here that I haven't even had the chance to show you. But if I come in here and say order by, we can give that an array of objects and say the field I want you to order it by. And we look at this, we get beautiful auto completion. Currently this doesn't have it, but we can say attr created at, and that's going to be a string. I'm going to save that, come back here. And how about we say this is actually a really great opportunity to show you merging. So we can come in here and say, when you create the post, I want you to merge some extra data in there. So most of the data is on the form here, but then sometimes at the last second, you want to add actually a little bit more data into it. And now I can say here, hey, I want you to set created at equal to new date. And what I usually do is set that to, I think it's like to ISO string or something like that, or to JSON, which I think is actually the same thing. Yeah, so now we'll have a created at. So let's come back in here. Usually I have a button that resets the app. And when I reset the app, all it does is come into key-val store and it just deletes the entire database. So if I delete that database, refresh the page, yeah, basically we got a blank app now. So now let's come in here and create a new, oh, that should say topic. Hang on. Create topic dialog, create topic. Boom. All right. Does that work now? Yeah, create topic. So let's add another discussion here. VueModel A. Like it. Create that. Now we can jump into that discussion. And we got this little message saying like it. And we can add a response in there. Now I've forgotten what I was testing. Oh, and if we take a look at that inside of the store, or let's actually look at IndexedDB. So let's look at the raw record. Yeah, there we go. We've got a created at. How cool is that? So it's really easy to do this stuff because when you add it in here, it just merges directly in. This is insanely helpful. I can't even tell you how helpful this is, where there's all these situations where at the last minute, at the time of calling create, you kind of just need to inject a little bit of extra data. Really, really handy. So now that we've got created at, we can say the field is created at, control space, there we go. And the direction is equal to descending. So that's always going to be the correct order based on when the records were created. And it's just like, this code is just so easy, and it's so easy to model as well if you wanted to create some sort of a filter that users can use on the front end. So now that that's done, let's just add a couple of other ones. Blah, da 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 da. And see, the ones that I'm creating here are ending up at the top. See how this one ends up at the top? Because it's all being ordered now. Whereas if I come in here and change that to ascending, notice we got triple P at the top and NCV at the bottom. Save it, and they basically flipped because now it's ascending. Whereas of course you would want that to be descending. It's just so easy to do this stuff now. It's so ridiculously easy. And look, here's another one. Actually, we want to have the user's ID, for example. You would just come in here at the point of creation and say the user ID is equal to whatever. Actually, one thing I think you can do as well, which I should know because I built this. Yeah, here we go. We've also got merge here. This is super helpful. So what I can do is instead of creating it there, if I want a cleaner API, we can just say create and then index. Then when I go to the post creator, you can say merge, and here's all of our merge data. Created at is equal to that, and then user ID is equal to, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Save that. So now check this out. Create that, and let's have a look at it and see what it looks like. I've got to find the correct one now. The one that's got the user ID. Yeah, there we go. The user ID gets injected in there. And yeah, the cool thing is, since we're using merge now, we're pushing that logic into a place where it's out of the way, so we don't have to think about it anymore. You're always going to have it created out. You're always going to have a user ID. This is how we want to set those things. And by the way, you might have realized in there, one thing I've forgotten is to set the discussion ID. Look how ridiculously simple that is. Control space. Oh, there's the discussion ID. And we want to set that to props.discussion ID. Done. Now we can come in here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever we want for that post. Click on refresh here. Now I've got to go through and find it. Yeah, and now that discussion ID gets inserted as well, which of course you're going to need because when you're getting those discussions, if I come back here, when you're fetching these posts, you want to make sure they're filtered by the discussion. In fact, check this out. Let's add that feature in now. Filters, and we're going to have to make this a computed because the discussion ID might change. So we could say filters is a function. It's kind of like calling it a computed. And we can do this in a one-liner. Discussion ID is equal to props dot. All of this just lines up so beautifully now. Why doesn't it like that? Oh, that's right. I've done this wrong again. You need to be a little bit more specific and say discussion ID. And here's all of our filter options available to us. If you control space there, is equal to props.discussion ID. And notice that those other ones have been deleted now because they don't match that discussion ID. We can come in here and now just go blah and add all of these in, and they're being created correctly with the right discussion ID. This is so freaking cool. I'm so excited about this project. This is actually the first time I've ever built something with it. And I'm kind of blown away at how easy this is. And I really want this to land. So I'm going to just say it one more time. Currently, we're building the whole thing without having to worry about the database, because if anything goes wrong, we just click on delete here and wipe our fake database, because the database is just the user's computer right now. We just wipe the whole database by just clicking delete here, right? And any changes that we make to these modules, they just automatically are now there in our database. So we're building our app without a database, but when we're ready, we now have the entire database mapped out for us. We know what the post is going to look like. It's all there. And we've tested it with the client because they've had the chance to play around with it. We never had to focus on the database or the API or deploying the API or setting up an API server. We literally just save a file here. Think about how cool that is. But, and this is the really cool part, when we're ready, we then jump into our boot file here, the thing that sets it up, and all we have to do is swap out local with, let's just say we've got another one called Orion. All we have to do is swap that out with our backend. So this would be called Orion VueModel driver. And then you just change the default to Orion. And that's it. You now build out that API based on all of the lessons that you've learned now, because you know how to build it right, because you've just, you've built all those modules, you've shown the client, you've built those models again, you've kind of like continued to tweak it. And then the client goes, yep, okay, I like this now. You just change that default from local. So instead of using the client's computer or your computer, it's now using a real API. And then you just build out that API and you know how to build it because it's the exact same as what you've just built on the front end with your Pina ORM models. And let me just show you what that looks like inside of the file browser. Because I've got very, very, very predictable naming conventions, I almost never have to use the file browser. So I think that might annoy people sometimes in these streams. But I'll teach them to you all. So when you learn them, you'll also be able to do the same. But here we go. I now know I've got discussion, I've got post, I've got topic, I've got user. Let's just open these up together. So discussion, dirt, dirt, dirt. And then over here, I can go, well, there's my discussion, there's my post, there's my topic, there's my user. That is my database. That's my database structure. It's just sitting there and you can even see it. You've even got some fake data here. You can now take all of this. I think I can right click that. There's probably a way I can copy this. Oh, come on. Surely there's a way. Copy. Yeah. Okay. Why did it work that time? Did that work? No. Okay. I'm sure you can figure out a way to do this anyway. But now you can easily make some fake data. And it's really, 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 really easy to inject fake data. It's literally just like calling create. So I would do something like jump into app.view and just check if there's any data. And if there isn't any data, then I would just use my use creator and just create the data with some sample data. You just like iterate over every piece of sample data you've got, which would, here we go, just be like an array. All right, that wasn't a great example. And you just insert it all. So when the user opens up the app, all the sample data is ready to go. It's just so easy to do using this technique. And it's going to make it so much easier for me to build things for clients. Like I'm having this vision now where I can go out to 10 clients in a month or more. I could probably go to like a client a day in a month if I've got, by client, I mean potential client, and just say and prototype for them. Be like, hey, what do what's something that we can build to help you? Sit down with them and have something built in a couple of hours. And, you could go to 3 clients in a day. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating here. 3 clients in a day. Just build something simple out for them based on what they want. And then just keep going back to those clients and say, how does this look? Yo, you don't like it? Okay, what do you want me to tweak? I'll tweak this, 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 and this. You go back for half an hour. You make those tweaks because it's so easy because you're not bound to a database structure and you don't have to set up a database server or anything. You push it to GitHub, automatically jumps into Netlify. And the moment they open the app, they've got all the new sample data and they can start playing around with your changes. It's crazy how fast this is going to be. Man, I've been dreaming of this for like the past 5 years now, and it's actually finally happening. I can't tell you guys how excited I am about this. Whew. All right, so anyway, I'll see you all in the next live stream. Stay tuned, and if you want to dig into this and learn a little bit more about what I'm building here, it's called VueModel. Copy that, paste that in the YouTube chat. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next live stream where we'll probably dig a little bit deeper into this project. Just think about this. Like, I've been stopping and talking throughout this whole thing, and we built this blog app in a couple of hours, and it's something that you could legitimately like go to somebody who wants to build, not a blog, sorry, a forum app, who wants a forum app and say, look, I know this is ugly, but just tell me, like, what do you want on top of this? Oh, you want that there. You want to have this menu where they can do such and such, and you want them to be able to, I don't know, have an emoji menu, or you want to be able to tag people, blah, blah, blah. They just, like, throw these ideas at you. And this is, okay, this is the other thing I didn't mention. If you can get something into clients' hands, clients have a much better idea of what they want, and they're much better at generating ideas than developers are for their business. So if I go to a client and I show them something they can look at and they can play with, their brains, their wheels start turning and they go, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this? Wouldn't it be cool if I can do that? So they can get those cool ideas out of their head early on in the product cycle, rather than you spending a month building something. And then after the month, that's when their cool ideas come out. You want your client to be creative as soon as possible. With this, we can get our clients to be creative sooner because it's in their hands. They can play with it. They can mess around with it. They can see what they don't like and they can see what they want to add in. And then once they've gone, okay, yeah, I want this, 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 and this, and I want you to change that. And then you make those changes, you bring it back to them, and they have the chance to be creative again. So you've got this loop where you're getting for free the client. Like, you don't have to pull the ideas out of the client. You just build something crappy for them really quickly. And by crappy, I mean it doesn't necessarily have to be that crappy. But like, you just bust something out for them really quickly, and then once it's in their hands, they then have the creative energy to tell you what they want because it's visual, and clients are a lot more creative when they've got something visual they can play around with. All right, I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really just love this stuff. Hope you enjoyed this live stream. Feel free to hit me up on Discord. Quasarcast is my Discord. Spelt like this, Quasarcast. Hit me up on Discord if you have any questions about this kind of stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next